Sorry to report, I think I bring bad news. Yesterday, as most of we sent out the alert. We thought we might have an opening through the speaker, and uh, the board, some of the trustees from the different universities got on the phone, and that quickly closed up. So the Senate Bill 7026 that contains the exemption for the universities is in the House. It had passed the Senate a while back, and it's been sitting over in the House, but it's on their special order calendar today. And my understanding is they're going to take it up, and the House has some changes they want to make, but the one we want is not going to be one of them. And then they'll send it back over to the Senate, and they'll pass it out probably Monday. So I'm afraid we've lost that one. But kudos to John and Derek and the whole team, because I know they put a lot of time and effort, into this, and I can't think of anything else we could have done to try to get this stopped. But uh, it looks like we're gonna we're gonna lose on this one. Um, One thing that Ray Rodriguez, the chancellor of the university system, actually went to John's office a couple of days ago and met with John, and he said that they're more than willing, to do a study on this down the road, which is one of the things we were trying to get in the bill. Trying to do it that quick. He said they had some concerns over, how will the study be done, and how do you factor in inflation and all these different things. So we will probably sit down with him sometime this summer, because he did say that they would be willing to put this study in statute next session, and that's going to come up pretty quick, because committee meetings will probably start in September. So we're just a few months away from getting into the next session. Because again, that's just something we'll need to do. One, it will help us as far as if the cities and counties and others come forward and want an exemption from CCNA2, we'll have a study that we can point to. And then if it's, all the studies that I've seen, and ACEC National has a ton of them. And most recent one was done by Georgia Tech University, and University of Colorado. And it shows there's substantial uh, increases in construction costs due to a higher number of change orders and and schedule delays and all those types of things. So we should hopefully see that happen when we do this study. And I don't know. I mean, we can talk about the details on this, but I'm thinking you probably have to give it at least 4 years or so to let some of these projects to work through some of these projects. So, but anyway, we'll get into the details at some other time. But um, I know John's upset about this, and I am too. I don't like being treated this way, but they, I actually would say hats off to the other side. I mean, they really had this planned well, and every one of the meetings, they'd have a bunch of different universities represented, and so they did a good job. But it's the I don't like it when they sneak stuff like this, or the way they did it really wasn't that sneaky, but just the way they did it, really tied our hands as to how we could fight it. But anyway, so let me move on, and if there's any questions, just jump in, and be glad to answer them.
Alan, can you hear me? This is Corey Ann.
Yeah.
I just have a question about the study you're talking about. I assume it would be something done locally out of Florida. Why would this study that we're planning on doing or thinking about doing be any different or have any different weight than the ones that Georgia Tech or the other ones you referred to? Like, why couldn't we have used those? What's going to be this different about this study that would help support us? Is it because it's local?
Yeah, well, I mean, we did use those. I mean, we cite those studies a lot. And there's a lot of information, and these studies that ACEC has. If you go to ACEC National's website, they have a section in their website that's all about, quality-based selection, and they've got all these studies listed in there. So they go back decades, and we use those all the time to argue in favor of CCNA. On this one, it's just going to be that, this law has been in effect in Florida for 49 years. And so we'll have, we'll have our state university system now that's not using that. It doesn't prevent them from using it. They can still do it that way if they want to. I don't figure they will. But it'll give us something, that we can see that's right here at home, so to speak, that, if it starts costing more in construction costs and we can prove that, we can turn this around, and get them back under CCNA some point in the future. But we'll, I think it'll be a good thing. And it's on my list of things to do. I haven't done it yet, but to get with Steve Hall up at National, and because I'm sure we could get, with the professors and the people that did the University of Colorado study and Georgia Tech study, and maybe get them involved, and the university seem, or at least Ray Rodriguez seemed very accepting of that, and that they want to know too, does this have, will it be better, or will it be worse, or will it be a wash? I mean, and so I think it'll be good to look at, and it's gonna, obviously that then would get the legislature's attention, that it's a study from the universities here in the state. So,
Okay, thank you.
sure. The reason, the idea, when I got the idea of the study in the first place, it's really so that we can sort of hold off the local governments from coming next session, wanting to get out of CCNA too. It'll give us something to point to, and can get us a little bit of rest on this issue. And so, anyway, the second one, this Occupational Licensing Act, they're being real stubborn with this one, and I'm still hopeful this thing's not going to pass at all. There's a lot of professions and other occupations that are involved in this bill, but the current language right now is, at least in the Senate bill, is somebody comes from out of state. If they have a PE license in another state, then they only have to hit two out of the three categories or criteria, which is, you have, for license here in the state, you have to have a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from an accredited university. You have to pass the fundamentals and the PE exams, and you have to have 4 years of experience. And they're saying that the person would only have to have 2 out of 3. And that's just, it doesn't make any sense. You could have somebody goes to college, as you know, the law changed a few years ago where you can now take the PE exam, within your 4-year experience window. You can take it in your first year of work. You just don't get licensed until you get the 4 years of experience. But you could have somebody come into the state, take the exam and pass it, have no experience at all, and be a PE. So that's kind of what we're asking, is like, which of these 3 would you let go if you had your choice? Is it you want somebody with experience and pass the exam, but they don't have a college degree? Or is it, and I know they get people like this sometimes, especially people from that older people, or is it you take somebody with a college degree and 4 years of work, but they didn't pass the exam? I mean, which one of these 3 can you let go? And the Senate sponsor, even though a couple of times he's seemingly agreed to things, as ended up always rejecting that and going back to what he has now. And so still in play, but we don't like it. And I've been working with Zana and John Rhimes and the folks over at the Board of Professional Engineers, and they've been really helpful with the information. But he's got Senator Collins has his mind stuck on this, and the House sponsor is basically just saying, look, whatever the Senate sends over, we're going to take it. So we've got to work on the senator, but we will continue to do that and try to hold that one off. Derek's on the phone, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hey, Eric, I got your text a little bit ago. The next bill is the budget. You want to real quick just tell the group what you're hearing on that? We're talking about the money for the Moving Florida Forward program.
Yes, sir. And excuse the noise. I'm outside walking to my truck, so there's cars passing by. But as of right now, House and Senate are still in budget negotiations. The goal is to have the budget done actually today, according to the Senate president. They want to have it done before they go into the weekend. But in regards to the $4 billion, the Senate does not appear to be fully on board with the total amount that the governor's asked for, where the House is fully on board and looks to fund it as the governor requested it. And so what I'm hearing, and I'm hoping to get more confirmation this morning to get to Allen, is the Senate is probably going to make the House buy the amount. What that basically means is the Speaker and the Senate President always sits on a certain amount of money, which we call sprinkle money. They can then sprinkle on top of final budget numbers before they close out the budget. And they usually sit on a few $1 billion a piece. And so what I heard as of yesterday, the Senate's going to probably make the Speaker use some of his sprinkle money to get to the full amount the governor is asking for. There's been rumors that they'll get the $4 billion, but the governor wants them to also do some bonding of some of the money. I don't know how true that is, but right now the reluctancy is in the Senate, which is why things have not come to full fruition. The Senate at one point was willing to give $2 billion and then make the department come back and ask for the remaining two. There's also a rumor, which I don't know if true or not, to be honest with you. There was a rumor from at least from the Senate that DOT is telling them they don't have the staff to do this, which is why the Senate is appearing to be reluctant. Again, I can't confirm if that's true or not. I have not reached out to DOT. What I can confirm is that the Senate is reluctant to give the governor what he asked for as far as total in that regard. And so I still think it's going to get done because the governor has been publicly out. They did a big press conference, as we all know. But I doubt they would not give him what he wants, but they could make the speaker pay for it, his sprinkle money. They also can give him the money and then put stipulations around it. And so we will know more today as they do the final budget items today. So that's what I know as of right now.
Thanks, Derek.
Derek, this is JW.
JW.
So Senator Hooper is the sponsor of the bill in the Senate. And I guess he came out and made the statement to Florida Politics about what the DOT was telling him. I don't know how that got started, but I can almost promise you that nobody in leadership made that comment to Hooper. I know that Hooper's been working a lot with the road builders on this, and it may have just been a backhanded or offhanded comment, but he repeated it publicly to the Florida Politics. So
yeah. So yesterday, the big budget shares, everything that was unresolved got bumped up. So now it's at the level of Representative Leak and Senator Broxton. What you just shared is absolutely correct. And so based on that, the Senate has kind of been holding firm on everything that Hooper has said publicly. And the department has not really gone public one way or another. And that's understandable. That's why they haven't. They normally don't do that from the governor's office perspective. But what JW is mentioning is why the Senate has been so reluctant.
All right. Anybody any more questions?
Well, Derek, what do we need to do, or just let it play out today?
We should let it play out today. Again, I have a call into the Senate President's office. I tend to get a return back call sooner. So once I hear something, I'll make sure Alan's aware real time.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Derek. Next on the list, we have a couple of bills that involve DOT that, I had dropped them down to the monitoring thing for a little while and actually just added these other two because they all of a sudden sort of sprung to life. These first two, Senate Bill 64, House Bill 425, those bills have the language in it that would allow the consultants or the whether you're doing design or CEI, to share in cost savings that are found during the project. So those are good. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot in there that we were interested in. That was the one at the beginning of the session. It had the language in it with the phase design build. And that language has now been added to the next couple of bills, which is Senate Bill 1250 and House Bill 1305. The House has passed it. It's in messages to the Senate, and the Senate is scheduled to take it up today. So it does look like that part of it's going to go. Yeah, I'm not sure. The other thing, Derek, that I need to figure out is the rate that they were asking for salary increases, and see if they're going to get that in anywhere. And
My understanding, Alan,
Alan,
that'll just be part of the
Alan.
Yeah, won't that be in the reconciliation bill?
Yes.
Derek, that was always the intent, was to put it into the reconciliation bill at the end of the budget process. So that'll be happening today also, correct?
That's correct. When everything, when we say the budget will be done, that encompasses all of that.
Right.
1305 is where the MDX language was. Are we hearing anything specific with why that was added back in, or why what the impact of that's going to be?
Let me pop that up real quick. Yeah, they did add it in. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't heard anybody as far as, that was a hot item a few years ago, as you know, and but I haven't heard anybody. And they adopted it and went ahead and passed it. So it's cleared the House now. Now I don't know what the Senate will do with it once it gets, maybe today, maybe they take it back off and bounce it back to the House, or but the people that were so hot and heavy on MDX a few years ago, most of them have termed out now. So it looks to me like that language just goes back and says, okay, we're putting MDX back the way it was, kind of deal. And so maybe they've come to their senses, or I don't know exactly how the court case worked out. I know it wasn't going the state's way, it was going MDX's way. Last time I had heard about that court case, but I don't know if anybody else has any further knowledge on that.
Hey, Alan, this is Victor Herrera. Morning. We
Morning.
were talking to some folks yesterday. I think this happened Wednesday, may have been Tuesday, when it got thrown in there. And my understanding is, direction from Jeanette, who's the one that's been kind of in the back of this fight, even when Brian Avila was the one pushing the language a couple years back. And the language, one of the hurdles they had was because of the attack specifically on Miami-Dade County, and it just being a Miami-Dade County issue. So this bill has language that actually incorporates County Road 94, or some random road in Monroe County, in an effort to bypass that issue that they faced when it was appealed last time in the rulings. So we talked to some of the MDX folks last night, and they were saying that they've been nonstop speaking with the folks in the Senate to try to avoid any language being presented, but they feel it's going to be thrown in.
Okay. Well, like I say, it has passed the House, so it's in messages to the Senate. So it's, whether the Senate can take it, the Senate can do several things, but they can either take the bill as is, or they can change it and send it. They can bounce it back and forth. So we'll keep an eye on that today, because, like I said, it's on their calendar today. When it says the bill's on special order, you could also refer to that as second reading. typically what they'll do is they'll take a bill up, and if there are amendments and things like that, they'll do those, and then they'll roll the bill to what they call roll the bill to third reading, and then they'll take it up like the following day for final passage. They've been doing some of these bills, where they just waive the rules, and that's one of the things we've run into this year is just kind of the waiving the rules, because they got the super majority and gonna have to play by the rules if they don't want to. So we'll keep an eye on that one today. Let y'all know what happens. Yeah, it just kind of scared us the other day when we saw that pop in, because the MDX issue, I don't know how this differs from last year. I didn't go back and look it up, but that MDX issue killed that bill last year, because we thought it was going. It had the phase design build stuff in it and all of that, and as soon as they put the MDX stuff on it, Wilton Simpson just walked up to the microphone and said, "We're not going to consider that bill anymore," and that was that. All right, moving forward, the condo bills have kind of slowed up. It's been passed by the Senate. It's in messages to the House. The House cleared its last committee, so it's waiting. I heard it's a few things that don't involve the inspection. It's all about the condos and the reserves and insurance and all that kind of stuff. And but I understand as of last night that they've worked that out, and so they're expecting the House or the bill to be taken up in the House on Monday, which would probably mean they've got some changes to it. So probably be amended in the House and then sent back to the Senate. And then the next bills, I've got this one on there twice, the Occupational Licensing Act. Take this one off. We're still watching out for under the monitoring section, the ratification of that rule for DEP continues to move forward, and I've got something messed up there too, because I think 7,000. It should actually say favorable by the House in messages to the Senate. So I the wrong one, but this does not include the rule that everybody's been arguing over, and I would call that one dead as of this point. I checked with my other folks that have been working on this one the other day just to see if anybody had heard anything, and it's been very quiet. So I think DEP has given up for this year. Going to be interesting on that one though, because DEP has been asking a lot of questions like, well, if we consider the rule final, so can it be put into effect without being ratified? And obviously the answer to that is no, but it sounds like they're gonna try to do some of this stuff without being ratified, but we'll just have to watch how that develops, and we need to take some action. We'll do that later. And then the last two, the same two bills we reported on that have already passed. The statute of repose bill has already been signed by the governor. It's starting to get some. I've seen a couple of news articles on that one, where they're screaming that homeowners will have less time to sue and all that kind of thing. But that was sort of the idea. So anyway, that's kind of what we got now. This is the stuff that's still in play. Obviously, you probably noticed I took all the committee stuff off because that's just not important anymore. So, the stuff that's in play is all, on the floor of one chamber or the other. And we'll see, action here over the next week. Next Friday is a week from today is the last day of session. Thank goodness. And, but we'll see what damage they try to do before then. Are there any questions? All right. Well, I appreciate it. We'll do it next week again, and that'll be the last day of session, as I just said. And hopefully we'll have some good news then on some of these topics, and we'll take it from there. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the update, Alan. Yep. Thanks for the work, and thanks for all of you're doing right now. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
And if anybody's interested, I just put the link to the QVS path for national, if you want to take a look.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Laura.
Yes, thanks.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Laura. You too.
Thank you.